September the 11th will forever be remembered by the world as a day when the whole nation convulsed in grief and horror. A day when the safety and freedom of an entire people was at risk of disappearing forever, and a day when thousands of people's lives were to be taken away because of the plotting and ambition of a few evil men. On the morning of September the 11th, 1973, a military coup was launched in the Latin American country of Chile against the democratically elected government of Salvador Allende. Beginning at 7 a.m. with a naval attack on the coastal city of Valparaiso, by 9 o'clock all of Chile but Santiago city centre was in the hands of an illegal military junta led by General Augusto Pinochet. Pinochet and his fellow military leaders, with the support and backing of the United States, surrounded the presidential palace of Salvador Allende, the first ever Marxist to be democratically elected as leader of a country. But Allende refused to surrender to the fascist coup. However, with only light resistance against the military and recognizing the hopelessness of his situation, President Allende made a final speech to his people before taking his own life in order to escape the fate that he knew awaited him should he have been captured by the US-backed military. Surely this will be the last opportunity for me to address you. The Air Force has bombed the antennas of Radio Portales and Radio Corporacion. My words do not have a bitterness but disappointment. May there be moral punishment for those who have betrayed their oath. Soldiers of Chile, titular commanders-in-chief, Admiral Marino, who has designated himself commander of the Navy, and Mr. Mendoza, the despicable general who only yesterday pledged his fidelity and loyalty to the government, and who has also appointed himself chief of the Carabineros, the paramilitary police. Given these facts, the only thing left for me to say to workers, I'm not going to resign. Placed in a historic transition, I will pay for the loyalty of the people with my life. And I say to them that I am certain that the seeds which we have planted in the good conscience of thousands and thousands of Chileans will not be shriveled forever. They may have force and will be able to dominate us, but social processes can be arrested by neither crime nor force. History is ours, and the people make history. Workers of my country, I want to thank you for the loyalty you have always had, the confidence that you deposited in a man who was only an interpreter for the great yearnings of justice, who gave his words that he would respect the Constitution and the law, and did just that. At this definitive moment, the last moment when I can address you, I wish to take advantage of the lesson. Foreign capital, imperialism, together with reaction, created the climate in which the armed forces broke through their tradition, the tradition taught by General Schneider, and reaffirmed by Commander Araya, victims of the same social sector who today are hoping, with foreign assistance, to reconquer their power and continue defending their profits and privileges. I address you, above all, the modest women of our land, the campesina who believed in us, the mothers who knew of our concern for children. I address the professionals of Chile, patriotic professionals who continued working against the sedition that was supported by the professional associations, classist associations, that also defended the advantages of capitalist society. I address the youth who sang and gave us their joy and their spirit of struggle. I address the man of Chile, the worker, the farmer, the intellectual, those who will be persecuted because in our country fascism has already been present for many hours. In the terrorist attacks, blowing up bridges, cutting of railroad tracks, destroying the oil and gas pipelines, in the face of the silence of those who had the obligation to act, they were committed, and history will judge them. Surely Radio Magallanes will be silenced, and the calm metal instrument of my voice will no longer reach you. It does not matter. You will continue hearing it. I will always be next to you. At least my memory will be that of a man of dignity who was loyal to his country. People must defend themselves, but they must not sacrifice themselves. People must not let themselves be destroyed or riddled with bullets, but they cannot be humiliated either. Workers of my country, I have faith in Chile and its destiny. Other men will overcome this dark and bitter moment when treason seeks to prevail. Go forward knowing that, sooner rather than later, the great avenues will open again and the free men will walk through them to construct a better society. Long live Chile, long live the people, long live the workers. These are my last words, and I am certain that my sacrifice will not be in vain. I am certain that, at the very least, it will be a moral lesson that will punish felony, cowardice, and treason. For 27 years, Chile was under the jackboot of General Pinochet's fascist rule, while Western imperialism leached all it could from the wealth of the country. Corruption amongst the bourgeois class was rife, and any worker who dared to oppose them was tortured or executed. Even today, Chile still suffers a legacy of inequality, with thousands living in desperate poverty, while Augusto Pinochet languished in luxury, facing only a year and a half of house arrest in Britain before being released without trial, 6 years before his death. A strong ally of NATO, the Pinochet government is reported to have murdered 3,197 and tortured over 20,000 of its own citizens. This vile regime did not live unopposed, however. Two Marxist groups, the Movement of the Revolutionary Left and the Manuel Rodriguez Patriotic Front, conducted a guerrilla war against the regime for several years. Democracy was eventually returned, but on Pinochet's terms, allowing him to remain senator for life and avoid facing a single day in a prison cell. I seek not to insult or belittle the victims who died on the attacks of the Twin Towers. After all, 66 of my own countrymen died that day. I only ask that people who watch this look behind the propaganda of the bourgeoisie and discover the real nature of of the world's struggle for freedom and justice. And should you be meditating on the tragedy that occurred on September the 11th, 2001, spare a thought for the people of Chile who died that day, and for the people of Palestine, Syria, Egypt, China, Belarus, the Philippines, India, and Greece, and in countless other places who continue to struggle to create a free and fair world of social justice and freedom as we speak. Red salutes, comrades.